Now, with this first video, what I want to share with you is my experience and my observations of PhD applications, what goes into them, how to really approach them, and with that in mind, what I want you to think about is where do you go with the application, where do you hope to apply for, and what your background should be. So to start off with, generally speaking, most PhD students will at least have a bachelor's or a master's degree, and in some cases they may very well have both. Now, you might be someone who is potentially crossing your discipline, so you might have started in one field, let's say computer science, and then you might be going into a master's degree in education, and as a result of that your PhD is going to be a combination of those. Or it might be completely different from all of your experiences so far, but it has a topic area that links to your professional experience. So maybe your professional experience is a little more linked to a job that you're currently doing. Maybe it's in, let's say, insurance or marketing, and as a result you're trying to take that analytical experience and apply that to your doctorate. So with that in mind, first of all, my main advice would be to make the most of your educational offerings that you can do up to that stage. I would strongly encourage anyone to pursue a bachelor's degree first, then a master's, and then be looking at doing a PhD at the last stage of their traditional educational journey. Now, that isn't for everyone, but that would certainly be the steps I would recommend following, because it gives you more range of your experience, it gives you more chance to explore different disciplines through potentially different institutions or even the same, and it adds to your cumulative experience and knowledge, which you can eventually use to then apply that to your doctorate application. So once you've got to that stage with your doctorate, so you've now got it in your head that you are thinking of doing that doctorate degree, and you need to decide if you've got a really interesting idea and you have a topic that you want to pursue, you can pursue that topic as a self-funded individual. Self-funded individuals can generally be people who are working alongside this, people who are generally interested in the subject and just want to pursue that, and therefore want to go into a position where they are self-funding their own research. Or you can pitch your idea to an institution, and if that institution thinks that your idea has enough merit to put funding behind it, they may fund your research. Your other option is you can also potentially, depending on your work, get your employer to fund that work. Now, in terms of self-funding, that isn't my personal experience with PhDs. It's not the route that I went down. I went down the funded route. If you're thinking of going down the funded route, like myself, you might have a PhD in mind that you've seen on websites such as findaphd.com, and they will list a range of institutions and be able to progressively select them based on discipline, academic area, institution, country, and those institutions will be able to display whether that degree is selecting openly, if it's got no official end date, and it will effectively interview till the position is filled with the right candidate. Those are options that you have to think about. If there isn't, they might be a topic or research project that you're interested in, but won't necessarily be in a project that you have a clear picture of that you purely want to pursue for your own research interest. It's generally something that the institution or supervisors are interested in, but bear in mind with these, you can take that research in your own direction. It's your research, it's your opportunity to shape that experience. So every student is going to approach those topics differently, and that's what needs to stand out on your application. You bring with you your own unique experiences, your own learned experiences, and that's what will be coming through on, generally speaking, your cover letters, or application forms, and that's what you're pitching to the supervisor. Now, with a funded PhD, you can generally call up the institution, speak to the lead supervisor, and get an idea of where they're generally interested in that particular topic, what their core focus is, and what their background is. I would recommend doing a lot of reading and research around what your supervisor's specialties are in and research backgrounds are in, because that will give you an insight of how they want to pursue it. And an informal discussion always gives you the opportunity to be able to have a short pitch about what your thoughts are in those areas and how you envision taking that topic, taking that project. Now, if you'll notice, I keep going between the two, project and question. A research question is an overarching specific question that is focused on one area of research, whereas a research project might be, you might be working as a team and looking at a range of different areas, and this might be funded by a company, it might be funded by a particular institution that's looking at that particular area. Now, if you're looking at approaching those projects, you can sometimes apply for those through a job application, or you can sometimes apply for them through the PhD route and through the institution, and either way you can end up on the same academic route but through two different access points. If you are going down the funded route, the important thing to bear in mind, you will be paid on a stipend, and in a subsequent video I will explain how stipends work and how they apply to PhD students, what that means to someone who's in work already and is coming out of work to pursue a doctorate, and how that is different from a salary and what it will mean for you. So I'll explain that in a future video, but really what I want to get across with you here is the distinction between the support that's set up in those applications. If you are self-funded, you are going to have to find money to support your funding choice. So that can be via a doctoral loan, which you can apply for via your state government, or you can apply for it via for them through the PhD route and through the institution, and either way you can end up on the same academic route but through two different access points. If you are going down the funded route, the important thing to bear in mind, you will be paid on a stipend, and in a subsequent video I will explain how stipends work and how they apply to PhD students, what that means to someone who's in work already and is coming out of work to pursue a doctorate, and how that is different from a salary and what it will mean for you. So I'll explain that in a future video, but really what I want to get across with you here is the distinction between the support that's set up in those applications. If you are self-funded, you are going to have to find money to support your funding choice. So that can be via a doctoral loan, which you can apply for via your state government, or you can apply for it via you need to make that decision of whether self-funded is the route that you want to go, or whether you want to look at funded applications, and those will be paid for by the institutions through research councils, through different project grants. If they are paid in a grant, the important thing to bear in mind, whether it be a grant or a stipend, they are generally tax-free, and that goes directly to the student and are not tax applicable, but there will be cases where there might be taxable amounts with that, and if you're working alongside that, whilst your grant may not be taxable and will not affect the tax-free allowance, there will be other factors to take into consideration when taking into account that new funding stream for yourself. So my particular thoughts around this, so this is where my background came in to it. I was working full-time at the time with this support that you can get through particular memberships of organisations. They will have early career research support, but that will be taken into account whether they recognise the question as an area of research that they want to support you in. That's not to say that your research doesn't have merit, it just might not be an area that they're interested in pursuing at that point. If you can come up with the funding through other means, they'll generally ensure that you are supported and you can still apply for membership of those organisations with that PhD or that research project. Now, if you are doing it self-funded, you have the option of working part-time or working full-time and having that PhD alongside it, or you can work full-time and potentially tie that in with your job and a work project, but that will very much come down to the conversation between you and your employer. So where does that leave you? And when I was working in the agricultural industry, but came out of working full time to pursue my PhD because a topic came up that resonated with me, and in particular it was focused on helping young people identify their career interactions and professional interactions that shape their career trajectory. Now, with that in mind, it was a no-brainer for me. I was very strongly encouraged by family and other support around me to pursue the PhD. It's been something that I've always wanted to do, and really taking that on board to apply my knowledge to try to then give back to future students and future generations to help recognise where their career experiences will be shaped and how to better support them on long-term journeys or goals. As a result, mine was a funded route. It was something that is paid for by my host institution, and it was, or still is, a deeply interesting topic which I hope to share with you more as we go through different videos about PhDs and about careers in general.